Okay, welcome to the disassembly of a GPZ19 coil. So if you want to give Minelab a heart attack, share this around to your mates. This coil is one of the least favourite of all metal detectors. There are certain people who love them and think, you know, this is the answer to finding deep gold. And although they seem to work okay, this thing doesn't have the same depth capabilities as the Nugget Finder 17 by 13 coil as it sits. Okay, so you have this coil here that's worth lots and lots of money, and the resale value is very low. A lot of people are using these and pulling them apart to use to make up an X coil. But for me, I think, how is it possible that someone like Minelab, who are so good at making detectors, are so bad at making coils? This coil has been no good. Okay, no good. This should be the go-to for everyone who wants to find deep gold, but they don't, because it weighs a ton. That's number one. Number two, it's not very effective. It's noisy. You try to run this thing on normal, on good ground, and this thing just chatters and carries on. I'm trying to work out why that was happening. And so I've pulled this coil apart and having a look at its construction. You can see here, it's brutal. What I'm doing here is a one-way trip. So I turn on my little blowtorch. I'm heating up the plastic. This is the coil on the top. I'm heating up the plastic and then using a scalpel, I'm peeling it. So I heat it up sufficiently so that the plastic is melting and I can cut it off like this. I'm careful not to ruin the trace. So there's a little trace that runs around inside here, part of the shielding of the coil. And so in this case, we have an internal coil. And this is not a Litz wire coil. I thought it was. It's actually, well, I'm assuming it's not. From what I've seen, this just looks like a normal enamelled wire. The wire on the coils on the underside appear to be Litz wire. Okay, so if we turn this thing over, you can see here we've got this little track that sits inside here, loosely inside. You can see you can lift it out. And inside there, you will see that there's this little cotton-coated wire, and it's sitting inside this former here. Now, the thing that bothers me about this is that these wires are sitting loose in a channel, being held in there with foam. Okay, so just sort of sitting there loosely in there. There was a cover over the top with a trace, and so you can see here, this is the trace connection here. And you can actually see the wires running here away into the central potted section, which I'll open up in a later video. But I just wanted to show you the process of stripping this thing apart. And it's not pretty, but I'm not wanting to reuse this coil in this configuration because I can see some basic problems with it. One of them being the distance of this coil here with the surface. Now, if we look at the surface distance, it's about 15 millimeters. You put a cover on the base of this and you're up to around about 20 millimeters away from the surface of the ground. That wire should be right close to the ground to get the best effects. It's more about how the signal travels through the ground compared to through free air. So when a radio signal's traveling through free air, it will travel differently and it'll propagate differently from when it goes through the ground. And the ground mineralisation and moisture and all of those things come into play. And so I'm going to make it a point to have a look at this coil in its current configuration with its current locations of these coils, have them firmly fixed onto a piece of plastic where I can hook up the detector and run it and do some trials with an open frame, and then change the configuration of these coils to look and see if I can improve their performance. If I can then work out the best way that the configuration should be, I'll then work out what the impedance is of these coils and the frequency response, and then rewire them so that I can have the detector responding the same way to this coil and the other coils that I have. I'll make an interface unit to go between the coils, so I'll make a plug that I can go between the detector and the coils, and I have a multi-channel independently isolated oscilloscope that I'll be able to run the signals on, and then make make an assessment of what's going on in terms of timing of the send signal and the receive signal, so we can get an idea of what's going on in between, and see if we can decode the mystery that is pulse induction detectors. So I hope you join along with this series and you enjoy the content. If you do, please like the video and share it with your mates and subscribe to the channel. You'll tell that I haven't got many subscribers at the moment, but the ones I do have been around for a while, and I do appreciate their patronage, and I'd like to thank them for the past subscriptions. So there you go. This is where we're at. I'll show you just one more time how I'm pulling this coil apart. It's, like I said, it is brutal. This plastic is, I don't know if it's a PVC or a polyethylene base, but it doesn't like fire at all. And so I can heat this up to a point where it starts to fail, and then I can just run a Stanley knife through there. Oh, nearly. Sorry, a scalpel through there. Nearly got it. It doesn't stay hot too long. And then you can see it just runs through there like butter. I can open the coil up. And before I start to try to extract the coil out of there, I'll make sure I've got no little daggy bits, and I'll make sure all the connections are correct, so that when I go to reassemble this coil, I do it exactly as per the original design, and then have a look at the potential of rewiring these and turning it into a better coil. And like, I'm very happy with the nugget finder coils. I've had the GPZ 4500, the nugget finder GPX coils, the evolution coils and the advantage coils were fantastic. The coils they've made for the 7000 are second to none in my opinion. And then you've got the people overseas making the X coils, and good luck to them. I think that's great, but I can't see the value in spending $2,000 on a coil where I've got to rip something else apart and lose the warranty on my detector. Although my detector's now out of warranty, it still has an ongoing issue where I've got to restart it now and then. But it's not so much a big issue that I'm going to be too bothered by it. I had it repaired about a year ago, and they've replaced nearly everything in the detector, and it's still playing up every now and then. But it doesn't bother me too much. Like I said, it's not a big deal. It just means I've got to restart, because when I'm changing between normal and difficult, it cracks the shits, and I've got to restart it. But it only happens every now and then, and I'm not sure whether it's one of the boards or whether it's the actual display where you've got those capacitive buttons. Those bloody things are notorious for playing up. Oh, there you go. All right, very, very interesting. I've just now released this wire. Very interesting. So if you look at the end of this wire, You can't see it from there, but I can see that the end of this wire is black. It hasn't been broken away from here. This wire here was independently attached to the inner shield. Now let me just see if I can show you this a little closer. Just turn that blowtorch off. So if you have a look, this is the inside part of the plastic. So they've sprayed a conductive carbon paint on the inside. After bonding, if you can see there, I don't know if I'm getting too close, you can see there's a little white line in here, that's where the wire was. And they've just sort of dabbed their soldering iron along the way and then spray painted it on the inside. You know, spray painted inside here, and they reckon that's probably good enough. So if that wire is meant to be connected, like if this shielding wire here is meant to be connected and it broke during the process of manufacture, you can see here it runs all the way around the perimeter of that top coil. There's only one connection point down in here. So that wasn't connected. So, you know, it would make sense to me that it should be connected, but it looks like it wasn't. So that's pretty bloody interesting. So it might have been a problem with this coil in the first place. Okay, all right, well, thanks for watching. I'm going to do the next bit, which is get the rest of this out very, very carefully. I'm going to flip this thing over, expose all of the potting on the other side, and then very carefully lift this coil out and see if we can make up a bit of a test. All right, well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk soon.